Survivor Tree, written by D.M. Pariso. This book is in memory of all the men, women, and children who lost their lives as a result of the tragic events of September 11th, 2001, and it is dedicated to all the people whose lives were forever changed as a result of those events. As the van made its way down the familiar highway, Sam felt the dance of butterflies fluttering in his stomach. These were not the usual butterflies of worry and fear. They were butterflies of anticipation, which brought a twinkle to his eyes and questions to his lips. "Mom, what are we going to do in the city? What are we going to see?" He started to quiz his mother excitedly. "And you promise no doctors or hospitals this time?" His mom responded with a smile of her own. "No doctors, no hospitals, and no needles. I promise." The rest of the trip was filled with happy conversation and occasional singing along with songs on the radio. Due to their early morning departure, when they arrived in the city, the sun was still low in the sky and struggling to get higher than the buildings, which seemed to be everywhere. Mom pointed to one of the buildings and said, "There is our home for the next few days." Sam's eyes grew wide as he exclaimed, straining his neck to see the top. "Wow, that is awesome!" With the sun now high in the sky, Sam and his mom walked out of the sliding glass door in their hotel room. The view was amazing. There were tall buildings all around, but when Sam looked to his left, he noticed an area that did not have buildings jutting skyward. It had two huge square holes in the ground that had water flowing down the sides. Sam and his mom were standing on the balcony high above the city, admiring the pools of water below, when Sam asked his mom, "What is that?" His mom answered slowly in a soft tone, "That is why we are at this hotel, and it is the first place we are going to visit." With a pained look in her eyes, which was all too familiar to Sam, and a quiver in her voice, Sam's mom began to tell him of a time before he was born. The area down there did not always look like it does now. It had buildings too. In fact, it had two of the tallest and most recognized buildings in the world. They were known as the Twin Towers, and they stood right where you see the pools of water. 2 years before you were born, on a day much like today, with blue skies and sunshine, a terrible thing happened. An attack was carried out on our country and its people. Planes were flown into those beautiful towers. As people were evacuating the burning towers, firemen and policemen were rushing in to try to put the fire out and help people to safety. Then the unthinkable happened, and one of the towers collapsed. Not long after, the second tower fell to the ground. Sadly, you and I know a good deal about tragedy and how it can affect people's lives. Well, this was a huge tragedy. Many people lost their lives that day. A lot of people lost their moms, dads, sisters, brothers, friends, and even their children. The impact of these buildings crumbling to the ground was felt around the world. Sam could see the sadness on his mom's face, and the tear that glistened in her eye reminded him of the water in the pool below. His mom continued to explain that the area below with trees and the two reflection pools serve as a place of remembrance for those who lost their lives that day, and to honor the men and women who had the courage to put their lives on the line to help others. After eating a delicious lunch, Sam and his mom waited in a long line, which reminded Sam of the lines at an amusement park, but the atmosphere in the line was quite different. There were people quietly talking, rather than laughing and yelling like you hear at a park. They even had to go through metal detectors like at the airport. But just as he does at the airport, Sam got to go around and get checked and cleared by a person, not a machine. Once they entered the memorial, a feeling of calm overtook Sam. The city, with all of its noise, seemed to be locked out as if it were worlds away. He could hear the flowing water clearly from down here, and the two pools he had looked down at from his balcony seemed enormous now. Right away, Sam noticed a really tall building behind one of the reflection pools. He pointed towards the building and asked his mom what it was. She explained that the new towers are being built in this area. just not in the exact same spot. This is one of the new towers. In fact, it is a very special one. It is World Trade Center 1, more commonly referred to as the Freedom Tower. And just wait till you see it at night. Sam and his mom followed the walking paths, which were lined by small trees in full bloom. Before long, they were standing at one of the reflection pools. Sam noticed that there were names engraved deep into the surrounding fountain. The names seemed to reach out to him as he walked by. His mom explained that these were the names of the people who lost their lives that day. They made their way around the pool, quietly looking at the names. Sam's mom stopped walking and bent down a bit so she could look him in the eyes. She spoke quietly. "As you know, you were named after my best friend when I was a child." Sam replied, "Yep, your bestest friend in the world, Samantha. She died in an accident before I was born. But I was a boy, so you couldn't name me Samantha or I'd get teased. So you named me Sam." Sam's mom pointed to a name on the ledge, which read Samantha. "That is who you are named after," she said. Sam and his mom stood quietly listening to the sound of flowing water. Sam found himself lost in his own thoughts of what that horrible day had to be like, and he found himself reflecting on his family's horrible day. While watching the shimmering water flow down the side of the pools, suddenly he did not feel so alone in his tragedy. He thought about his dad and how much he missed him. Then he thought of all the other moms and dads who were missed every day. Sam broke the silence by asking his mom if anyone survived that terrible day. With a warm smile, she led him to an odd-shaped building made out of steel and glass. "This is the 9/11 Museum. It's not finished yet, so we can't go in, but if you look through the glass, you will see 2 big columns inside," his mom continued. "Those are what a friend of mine refers to as the miracle beams. He was one of the many firemen that were in the second tower when it collapsed. He was in a stairwell with 13 other people who were all trying to get out or to help others out when the building came crashing to the ground. These beams stood tall, though, and provided enough protection for all 14 of the people in that stairwell to come out alive." "Wow!" exclaimed Sam. "That had to be really scary." Sam's mom looked at Sam and noticed that he seemed very tired. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder and guided him to a large block of cement to sit on. He would have liked to keep walking so he could see the other pool, but it felt good to sit down. The area had many of these blocks for people to sit on, all nestled between the small trees. Straight ahead, Sam noticed a tree which looked different than the other trees. It was surrounded by a metal circle so that it could not be touched or disturbed. It was being supported by chains and ropes. "What's wrong with that tree?" Sam asked. An older man with a kind face who was sitting near Sam and his mom had noticed the metal braces that were supporting Sam's leg, and he answered his question. "Absolutely nothing is wrong with that tree. In fact, it is a very special tree. If you look around, you will notice all the other trees look alike. They are all swamp white oaks and are indeed lovely trees. This tree, however, is a pear tree, and like so many people, this tree was here on that tragic September day. It stood amidst the tall buildings and provided shade, fruit, and a bit of nature in the middle of the bustling city. It was found buried in the rubble days after the disastrous event. It was all charred and appeared to be destroyed. Actually, there was not much of it left, but what was left was sent to a nursery where tree doctors and caring people nurtured it until it was alive and growing again. The road to recovery was very long and full of ups and downs. It even had to survive a hurricane which harmed it for a second time. It did survive and has been returned to its home where it stands tall once again. It still requires some help and support to grow and is not exactly like the other trees. This very special tree provides shade, beauty, and a bit of nature just like they do, but it also does something they can't do. It provides hope and inspiration to so many people because it has managed to survive against all odds." "Just like me, Ma! Just like me!" exclaimed Sam. "That's right, Sam. Just like you," replied his mom. That night, after an exciting but exhausting day, Sam and his mom sat at the restaurant located on the terrace of the 20th floor. They were eating their dessert. Well, Sam's mom was eating hers, and Sam was devouring his. But they were both admiring the Freedom Tower, all aglow in red, white, and blue. In between bites, Sam spoke. "Hey, Mom, how about we come back here next year and see the museum when it is finished?" "That sounds like a great idea," Sam's mom replied. Sam continued, "I bet I'll be strong enough by then to walk around both pools." His mom smiled and said, "I bet you will."